everybody. My name is Rachel Wonderscheid. For those of you who do not know me, I'm the director of the Montana Afterschool Alliance. And we are excited to have this Lunch and Learn to celebrate Lights On After School Day, which is a national initiative to share the importance of these after-school programs for our communities and states across the country with folks who might not realize just how important they are. And so we were really excited that this is a very mixed audience. Some folks have been, in this field for a very long time, and others are really quite new to this work. And so we're excited for how that comes together and how everybody gets to learn from each other in that way. For those of you who are a little bit newer to our work, the Montana Afterschool Alliance is a statewide organization, and we work to enhance the availability and quality of the after-school and out-of-school time programs across our state for our youth in all of our communities. That includes summer programs, it includes after and before school programs, holiday programs, and in each of your communities, it looks a little different. In some of those communities, the programs are based in schools. In others, they are at a Boys and Girls Club or perhaps a YMCA or a church-based program. Summer camps, we have a lot of different art programs. Shout out to Maps Media, who I know is on here and does programs across the state. We also have some really amazing science programs and other STEM programs that are developing. And MTAA works to support those programs that are already in existence. We provide quality and professional development support to all of those programs who are interested. But we also work to create statewide partnerships, both in the youth serving field, but even across that for anybody who cares about issues that face our youth, our families, and our communities in Montana. And we find that those cross-sector partnerships really create a stronger movement for all of us. We also work on policy initiatives to try and get our local level and then also state and even national level partners and policymakers to understand why supporting these programs and making it sustainable for these programs to exist is so critical, especially right now, especially with the state of the world. So most of us on this call, I think, because you're here, understand why these programs are so important to our youth. They help our youth with academic support, they help them with mental health support, and just generally keeping a safe place for our kids to go when the school day has ended, but perhaps their parents aren't out of their work day. So generally having these programs in our communities make for much stronger communities, safer communities, and even allow our parents to continue to be in the workforce. We also know that there are not nearly enough programs in any of our communities. There are wait lists for our best programs and our biggest programs out there. And a lot of our communities don't have any programs at all. The most recent numbers from the Afterschool Alliance, which is the national organization that does the same work across the country, shows that for every one kid in a program in Montana, there are 4 more waiting to get in. And so we have a lot of work to do to address that. Additionally, we also know that the programs, those that are currently out there, are facing a lot of challenges. Post-pandemic recovery has been very significant. The academic needs and emotional needs of our kids have not gotten any better, have gotten significantly worse in the last few years. We also know that programs face challenges with retaining staff, with trying to get transportation for kids to come to the programs, and even to have space for programs to live in. And we are not here today to address each of those challenges individually, but we are here to highlight some programs that have created some really unique partnerships in their communities that have really taken a new look at how to do things. And we wanted to share and celebrate those partnerships and make sure that so other communities could kind of learn from them and see themselves in those programs. And so this webinar and Lunch and Learn is actually specifically talking about a community spotlight report that we developed this last year with the assistance of Cassandra Weber and Deb Halliday, our consultants, who did interviews in these 5 communities that are behind me. And they are all communities that have of varying sizes who have just created some really unique partnerships and projects. So we are here to learn from them and celebrate them. And if you would like to see the full report is rather big. It is going to be dropped into the chat. Also, if you would want to see each community has been broken out specifically and has their own report, so you can access just those on our website. There's also specifically a report that helps community providers work with their local school districts and other partners. And then there's a report that is more specific to school administrators to work with their local programs. So you can find some of those in the chat and the rest at our website. And I'd like to get started now with our panel. And so I'm going to have each of them introduce themselves. And we will start with Tim from Haver.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tim Burwood. I'm the Executive Director of the Help Committee and Boys and Girls Club of the Highline. We do prevention work and after-school programming here in Haver.
Then let's go to Jody.
I'm Jody Smiley. I am from the Boulder Community Library, and we work a lot with our after-school programs that we have at the school, as well as try and supplement programs that kiddos can come to after school if they don't have any other place to go.
Next, Amy.
Hey everyone, my name is Amy Vaughn. I'm currently the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Lewistown, where we do after school and out of school time programming. But I was part of the Flathead Reservation Boys and Girls Club when this report was done, and so I'm here talking about that.
And Michelle.
Hello, my name is Michelle Mitchell. I am the Director of Tribal Education for the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes on the Flathead Indian Reservation.
And next, Christy.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christy Ponte-Stroop. I'm the Executive Director of Alliance for Youth in Great Falls. And we opened about 3 years ago a youth resource center, and it's a low barrier drop-in center. So we have a lot serving ages 13 to 20. So excited to talk to you about that.
And Lacey.
I'm Lacey Hallett. I am the Community Impact Director for United Way of Cascade County. Not only do we function as a grant foundation, but we also work on community initiatives in education, health, and financial stability.
Thank you all. Okay, so I'm going to get started with our first question, and this is more a question for the programs out there. So that's going to be specifically Tim, Christy, Amy, and I think Jody as well, because she is doing direct work. She's kind of an in-between partner being a library. So could you explain to us why your program is so important to your specific community? Let's start with Amy.
Okay, so the Boys and Girls Club of the Flathead Reservation is basically the only after-school program or out-of-school time program that is consistently open for that community or for this community. It's affordable, it's engaging. We're just consistent about our time, and I think that's really valuable when it comes to families thriving and working and being able to be better. So that's our partnership in that.
Christy, your program's pretty new. Could you explain it and explain why it's so important to Great Falls?
Yes, so the Youth Resource Center, again, it serves ages 13 to 20. It is low barrier. We are mainly serving youth that are identified as homeless, experiencing some sort of homelessness or disadvantagement, but again, it's low barrier. is if they can come off the street and they can get some services. We have a hot meal that is provided every day at 5:30. We have laundry services, showers, food pantry, hygiene. We can help with education. We can help with employment. We have lots of services. In regards to it being like a program, it's not necessarily a program as much as it is a service. We do have some program aspect work that is brought in, and that's where our collaboration with our partners in the community is so key. We have not reinvented anything that already exists in our community. This was not a service that was available to adolescents in our community. We were really strong in regards to having services for our our youngers, and then also having, lots of services for homeless adults, but nothing in that adolescent age. And so this has just been an incredible journey. We definitely use youth voice as a huge part of building everything that we do and the services that we provide. And again, those partners that when we're bringing in different groups or, clinicians, it's our partners in the community. We are not recreating things. We're asking the partners that already have those services to come into our space, and we make it available for the kids to be able to access. Most of the kids are willing participants. Again, they just come here. They are not mandated or required to attend or come to any of the groups that might be offered or participate in any of the things that we host on a day-to-day basis, but they willingly come. So that's what's exciting about it.
We are very excited you exist now. Jody, could you explain how the library offers services to your community?
We do it in a couple of different ways. We work a lot with the 21st Century Youth Learning Program that serves our after-school group. We have them come to the library. We do STEM with them on Tuesdays, as well as we partner with the Children's Museum in Helena, the Exploration Works. They come to our library once a month and they put on Tinker Labs, and we have the after-school kids attend those as well. And during the summer, we work with the 21st Century program to make sure that we keep the kiddos reading by doing our summer reading program at the school where they're all at. And that's kind of what we do.
Great. And Tim, can you tell us why your program is so important to your community?
Sure. I'd echo a little bit of what Amy said. We really are the only large-scale program providing after-school and summer care for kids. So we serve 220, 230 kids a day that who knows where they would be otherwise. So that's pretty important. We also partner a lot with the schools, so we're providing academic enrichment for those kids. And we know that that's really important right now, right? Especially after COVID, we've seen so many gaps happening there, and we try and fill those gaps. So we do a lot of enrichment, but also as schools, and this was happening before COVID, we've seen schools kind of focusing down a little bit more, and a lot of the kind of extra stuff going away, the swim programs, the performing arts, things like that. So we give kids a chance to do some of those things. They're really important, that kids find their spot in the world and get to do things that are important to them. And if that's being in a talent show or going out and gardening, we give them that outlet. So yeah.
Now for Lacey and Michelle, starting with Lacey, could you explain how you have worked with the youth serving organizations in your community?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we are a grant funding source for a lot of our nonprofits. Actually, in August, we just came together as United Ways across the state of Montana, and the mantra there was really, if you've seen one United Way, you've seen one United Way. We all function a little bit differently, and you in your communities may have a United Way that actually is operating a program. In fact, I know of at least 2 that have after-school programs here within the state. We've taken a stance here in Great Falls and Cascade County that we do not want to operate programs. we really want to maintain that neutral ground to be able to convene community partners on different issues, and then help them build solutions and nest it somewhere. And so our role has really been often to provide funding for startup opportunities, things like Peace Place with our special needs community, the HANDS program. These were funding areas that we helped get started and off the ground. We currently are funding the Youth Resource Center and Alliance for Youth, and that is a whole fun storyline that we can share today of how that came to fruition in the first place, because Alliance for Youth has been a long-standing partner with us for many, many years. We're funding a community initiative group in Get Fit Great Falls, who's providing educational resources to our HANDS programs after schools. We've worked with our local gardening communities and help funded them. So there's quite a few different options, and really our role is to listen to the community and either help bring people together to come up with a solution to meet those needs, or to look at those that are already doing the great work and reinforce that by providing funding resources.
Thank you. And Michelle, how have you in your role partnered both with the Boys and Girls Clubs in the area and other youth organizations?
Well, we're unique in that actually we fit both. We're partners and we have a project. And so, for instance, during this last break, during MEA days, CSKT Project Aware, which is housed under tribal education, hosted a hunting camp. So it was a traditional tribal hunting camp that families and students attended. And we also hosted last summer 2 separate culture camps that were week-long, totally immersed in the culture. And so those are our programs that we're serving our kids. But in our partnership work, our role is to really come in and support the partners in supporting the tribal youth that are in those programs. So we connect them with people. I contract with what we call knowledge keepers. So I personally, through my department, vet the people that we recommend and then protect that list. But when we get requests, then I can say, I know someone, and then I'll reach out to that person and then get them connected. But at the same time, like for instance, the Boys and Girls Club, and yes, on our reservation, they come up with their own amazing ideas, and then we kind of plug in however we can help them. And, you know, through I had no part in bringing in some amazing speakers last year. They came up with the ideas, and I just supported them either with connections or financially, because I have a big SAMHSA grant that I wrote. And so we also have SciNation, which is going to be meeting next week, which is a partnership between the Boys and Girls Club, the tribes, and Spectrum from U of M. And so this last summer, they came to both of our traditional powwows. One's at Arley and one's at Elmo, and they had a science tent. And so all of the tribal youth that came to either of those powwows were also engaging in STEM activities throughout. And so we support each other in our work, and and to be able to do that, you have to meet frequently, and you have to, you know, first build those relationships with those individuals that are part of the partners. It's not just like, I know Boys and Girls Club. It's I personally know Eric, and I personally know Amy, and you know, we have each other's cell phone numbers, and we can bounce ideas off, or, you know, when an emergency comes up, we can call each other, and those kinds of things. And I miss you, Amy. So, and Brenda Ritchie too. She's amazing, and she just finished her master's degree from Salish Kootenai College, and it's in Indigenous ways of learning. And so, and she's not Indigenous, so that says a lot about that amazing human. So anyway, those are both of the ways that tribal education engages in this work.
That's great. Yeah, Brenda was hoping to join us, but she had some things come up and was not able to join today, but she is amazing and we were really grateful to have her as a part of this project as well. Now, this is a question I think can actually has been answered slightly, but could be answered by everyone. I just kind of want you to pick your favorite recent partnership, and who that partner was and how it got started, and what is sort of different about it. Because I know from myself reading the report and knowing so much about your guys' different programs that there are many to choose from, but I would just say maybe the most unique or your personal favorite. And let's start with Amy. You could pick either of your programs, Amy.
Well, the one that I would say has been the most instrumental on the Flathead Reservation is the Yes project, or Yes group collaboration, I guess, that Brenda put together. And it's unfortunate she's not here today because she deserves a ton of credit. That partnership has been going on for 3-4 years or so. And what makes it so great is that we have these monthly meetings that all the different groups that are doing youth serving work all come together for coffee and donuts for what's supposed to be an hour, but it's often more than that time. But to talk about all the different things that we're doing and trying not to overlap, trying to see where we can fill in gaps, because some grants allow you to do this, some don't let you do this, and somehow or another, most of the time at that table, somebody has the ability to fill the gap. But the other piece I think that's really important that sometimes I think all of our organizations can get into is that we tend to silo our work, and like you get caught in the fray of the day. And if you're not intentional about reaching out to the other organizations, and I'm not talking about just for grant partnerships, I'm talking about supporting each other personally and professionally, and being able to see the bigger picture of what's happening in your community. It makes it feel less lonely. You have peers that you can talk to, that sometimes it's sharing a frustration. Sometimes it's just, I don't know how to solve this problem. So I would encourage anybody in any of these different communities to go find other people that are doing the same kind of work as you, and be intentional about getting to know each other. Maybe it does turn into this valuable partnership of, grant sharing or whatever, but yeah, it just helps you see a bigger picture and think about the world a little differently than what just happens in your office.
Definitely. Jody, could you share with us one of your favorite partnerships? Oh, wait, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Okay.
One of the things that we do here at the library, our kiddos weren't really engaging in learning programming, computer programming, that type of thing. And it seemed very hard for me, because I'm not that person, to try and teach them. But we worked with Exploration Works again in Helena, and their team, and Dr. Liz Gunderson took their time and taught us how to build these robots, the Lego robots. And we had a group of initially 20 kids in our first competition team. And it was the most amazing thing. We didn't know robots. We didn't know what they were supposed to be doing, but they took us under their wing. Their team kind of helped our team along the way. We set up like mock competitions, and for their time we would pay, we would get them pizza and those types of things. But it was watching the kiddos teach the kiddos, and it really was a great, great thing. And our community has really seen a big change because of the fact that now that when they're going into high school, they're much more likely to take on the technology parts where they weren't prior.
Great. Lacey, could you tell us a little bit about a specific partnership that you are really inspired by?
Before I tell mine, I'm looking at Christy. Are you gonna tell the YRC story? No, okay. So I'll do with that, since she's gonna go a different direction. But I think the YRC story is like really an incredible process of how we got to where we did. It actually started with the mental health director for the public school district coming forward and saying, you know, kids, teachers, they're all talking about how different school is now. And that the community just doesn't know. They don't know what it's like for a student or a teacher today. And so she enlisted, luckily her sister, but the help of a playwright to come in and interview a series of students and teachers about what it's like today. They applied for grant funding from United Way to do that. And then they turned that into a play where other students portrayed the characters of their peers and presented it to sold out nights in our community for 2 weeks to tell this story. Now, what we're big advocates of in this community is let's not rile people up without giving them a channeled solution to do something. And so the school district, who is a great partner with us in our education work, as well as Alliance for Youth, met with us and said, will the two of you take lead on helping channel where we go next in this community? We agreed to that. And during that time, that play, we had a local pastor who filmed that play and turned it into a documentary, along with a few more interviews. We formalized a viewing of that documentary a couple months later. And myself and Christy and the superintendent of schools stood down in front of everyone at the end of that and said, we need your feedback and your thoughts about where we would like to go with this. But the big thing that we're hearing is we need to support our adolescent youth. And so then it was a matter of Christy and myself and a few others rallying together people across different sectors to come in and start looking at this project and pitching an idea for where we were going to go with the Youth Resource Center. And it took a year and a half, I want to say, to bring that to fruition from when that conversation originally started. But in the hardest point of 2020, the Youth Resource Center opened its doors and have been going gangbusters ever since. So credit to Christy and her team for continuing to make that run. But I think it's a really great example of how you leverage community donations, community activism, community volunteers, and of course, then just creative ideas that snowball into all sorts of cool outcomes.
Exciting. Tim, let's go to you next. I know you have a lot of really cool partnerships, so it might be hard to pick your favorite, but see what you pick.
Sure. Sorry, I forgot I was on the panel. I was just listening to everyone's story. There's really good partners out there. Yeah, you know, the obvious one is probably the school district. We wouldn't be here without them. The building that we're in came from them. They sold it to us for $1. And, you know, they bus all the kids here every day. So they're a big reason for our success. And, you know, any after school program obviously should have really close ties with their school district. And we do, and have had since day one. 21 years ago when we opened this program. My first day of work was the first day we opened up the club, and they've been strong partners ever since through many administrations. And you know, we wouldn't be where we are without them. But I think probably the most interesting and maybe not as well known would be our juvenile probation office. So we have a lot of similar goals, right? Kids after school, they want to be safe. We want them to be safe. And obviously the juvenile probation office shares that. They see a little bit of what happens when kids are out there unsupervised making bad decisions. So they've been a great partner for us. They've helped support us financially from the beginning. And we have 3 great programs that they fund through a really unique program that is available to them that any community can really take advantage of. And that's prevention incentive funds. So each district probation office gets a certain amount of money for out of home placement if they have to take a kid and place them out of home. And to incentivize them keeping kids in home, whatever they have left, they get to spend in their community on prevention type things. So our probation officer, Kevin Berkeley, has been really good to us. He funds we have a YRC as well. It's the Youth Reporting Center. So kids who get in a little bit of trouble, they can get diverted out of the system. They come here, they do some community service, they do some classes. And if they complete that successfully, they get a transition. They are out of the system. They don't have to do any more formal adjudication. So they also fund our teen programming. They really are focused on keeping teens in a safe place. So we have different classes and programming we do with the teens. They help fund that. And they fund our junior staff program, again, aiming towards those teenage kids, getting them some job experience, getting them some training, keeping them in a safe place after school. So they fund those 3 programs. It's been a really successful partnership that we've had for a number of years now. And I would encourage anybody, if you aren't already taking advantage of that, to reach out to your chief JPO and talk to them about prevention incentive funds, see if they can help you out.
I really appreciate that one because I have a background in criminal justice and youth work as well. So that one's a really creative idea. Next, Michelle, could you let us know what one of your very favorite partnerships is?
Like Amy, I think that YES is really a valuable partnership, but I really enjoy getting together with Nation because I am a geek at heart. And so we really like dork out when we get together and have really amazing ideas. And I get to indigenize whatever it is that we're coming up with and make sure that, you know, it's represented on in the important work that we're doing here on our permanent homelands.
Thank you. Christy, I think you are the last one on this question.
So obviously United Way is one of our great partners, the school district as well, probation office. We also use prevention intervention funds or prevention incentive funds for some of the different offerings that we have here. But I would say our biggest partner is our youth. They really guide what we do. Just to kind of give you an example, I mean, they even guided the fact of like helping design the space that we're in and being part of even identifying that this is a place that they would want to be. So, you know, that was first and foremost. But just a couple of weeks ago, we had a new clinician that was coming in and leading some trauma groups because a lot of these kids have experienced a lot of trauma in their life. Again, they don't have to attend this group. They don't know it's a trauma group, and it's just called the Huddle. And they were kind of talking about some different ways of doing self-care. And one of the girls in the group was just like, you know what, I really like to crochet, you know, because they were talking about different examples of some things that they could be doing. And so for these last 2 weeks, you know, we actually had a lot of yarn that was donated to us, and we went and got some yarn more, and we went and got some crochet hooks. And for the last 2 weeks, she's been leading the group, and kids are like excited about coming. Again, it's a drop-in center, so they may come, they may not come, but they have been coming, and they're going and learning crochet from, you know, one of our young members that comes here. And she's leading and feeling empowered by teaching her peers how to crochet. One of the girls just completed and made a purse, like a really cool, like crocheted satchel purse. So it's been really fun. But again, like that is just something that we really it's important to us that even when we're using our, you know, prevention incentive funds, that's actually the group that is paying to like guide that process. They're paying for that. So, you know, we're charging for things like that and doing some really creative stuff. And I just love that we so far have not had to put any limits on the creativity and the ways that we are meeting these kids where they're at.
That is very exciting. I really love the idea of having the kids and youth actually teach the community, and kind of, we often think about the services we can offer them, but we forget about the services they can offer us. So this panel is amazing, full of really, really incredible experts. And we are actually almost to our end of the time. And so right now I'd like to bring on Chris Knightsey from the Afterschool Alliance. He's going to just do a bit of an overview about nationally what's going on, and a little bit more again about just Lights On After School Day. And then if we have a little bit of time, we will get to some questions.
All right, thanks, Rachel. And hi, everyone. It is so exciting to be here. I'm Chris Knightsey. I'm the Director of State Policy at the Afterschool Alliance. I have the pleasure of working with Rachel and Nora and Heather and Bethany at the network, but also 49 other states and also the District of Columbia and all that, and helping support them in anything they need. So first, thank you all for being here. And to those that are celebrating Lights On After School, thank you, whether it's today or yesterday or tomorrow, or maybe it was last week, or maybe it's next week. We don't care when you celebrate. It's just at some point, we just want to make sure that we're shining the light on after school through Lights On After School. I think this is like our 23rd or 24th or 22nd annual Lights On After School celebration. In the field has really come so far over the last 20 plus years. But so just wanted to make sure that we're highlighting all of that great work that's happening. It was so fun to listen to the different panelists, learning about like the Tinker Labs at the Boulder Community Library, especially some of the hunting camps that were supporting the tribal youth. So many of those unique partnerships that are happening in Montana that are unique to the needs of students and young people in Montana. It's always great to hear about those and elevate those up. So Lights On After School, we've got 6,700 events happening across the country, which is amazing. We're getting back to our pre-pandemic numbers. It's been a slog over the last few years, as you all know, working in programs. You're looking to support the students and the families first, and maybe not put on events and invite the community in, because there's really not that much time to do that. So thank you to everyone that is able to hold those events and invite the communities out. Also wanted to thank Governor Gianforte actually signed a proclamation declaring this week. So not just today, but this entire week, Lights On After School Week. So that's very exciting to see. And thank you to the Montana Afterschool Alliance. So I mentioned Rachel and Nora and Heather and Bethany for all the work that they do. If you don't know them, I assume you do if you're on this webinar, but if you don't, you should definitely get in contact with them. They can help support your work on the ground in many, many, many different ways. Rachel wanted a kind of a little bit of a federal update, what's happening at the federal level / national level. There's a Speaker of the House, so that means that things are going to be happening, hopefully in Congress, fingers crossed. Some of y'all have probably seen like this looming deadline around the government shutdown. For anyone here that is a 21st century community school or 21st century community learning center grantee, or maybe you utilize childcare subsidies in some way, have no fear. If for some reason the government does shut down on November 18th, because those programs are all forward funded, they will actually be able to continue to serve students until the end of June. So you'll be fine, and I assume we will not have any kind of government shutdown that is that long, but you never know. But just want to make sure you have some peace of mind if you're a 21st century grantee or utilize childcare subsidies. So the importance of Lights On and kind of making sure that programs are able to share what's happening. I work in Washington, D.C., but I also get a chance to visit programs. I'm actually in Wisconsin right now, so only one time zone over away from you all. but I just wanted to reiterate and stress how important it is to make sure that you know, the folks here are sharing their stories about what's happening in their programs, inviting folks out from your communities. That also includes legislators. So those are state legislators, those are city council members, those are mayors, those are actually congressional members in their staff. So if you're talking about U.S. senators, U.S. Congress members, but state senators and state legislators, making sure that you have a chance to invite them out. One of the panelists talked about relationships, how important that is in partnership. It's also incredibly important in any advocacy work. And I know there's probably quite a few advocates or folks that would say they're advocates for their programs. I want to stress how important it is to kind of take that step in making sure that you're building those relationships, not just with the community partners. We know that's the most important piece in serving kids, but we need to make sure that those stories and those successful examples are actually getting to those decision makers that are making decisions on how much funding is at the federal level, how much funding is being sent at the state level and even the local level. So making sure that you're inviting those folks out, building those relationships. It takes time, but you want to ultimately become that go-to person for your state legislator or council member or mayor, or maybe even the governor or Congress member. So I promise you that this is it's possible to do that. After school programs are a great place for folks to be seen at, and they're always wanting to get out into those communities. Finally, so Rachel also wanted me to talk about and remind folks that there is still a lot of federal funding out there for education. Some of y'all have probably heard of ESSER, or the Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund, that came through in the various tranches of federal relief funding from during and after the pandemic. We just finished up an analysis of that we published. We did an analysis of 6,300 school districts across the country. That included 34, I believe, in Montana, which I know that's a fraction of the total school districts, but 34 is the only the number of plans we actually had access to. In analyzing how much funding is going to out of school, whether that's after school or summer, we found that 8 in 10 school districts actually said that they were going to spend their funding or some of their funding on after school and summer. And actually 100% of the district plans that we looked at, which again was only 34 out of the 300 plus school districts, but all of them actually mentioned utilizing funds for summer and after school. So there's still money left. There's still about a little under a year left of time for those school districts to obligate funds. So if there's one thing I can leave you all with, it's to go back to your school districts, see how they're utilizing some of those remaining ESSER funds, the Elementary Secondary Emergency Relief Funds, and see how you can partner for this last remaining year. There's lots of great work that can happen in a year. We know that, and I think it's incredibly important to make sure that we stress to those decision makers at the local education agencies, the superintendents, the school boards, how important you all can be in that last year of their work. So thank you all. Thanks for the great work that you're doing. Thank you, Rachel and the Montana Afterschool Alliance, and happy Lights On After School.
Thank you so much, Chris. And if you want to get 2 examples of great uses of ESSER, both the Flathead Reservation and the Boulder Consortium, their stories are highlighted in the full community spotlight report. And so you can just get a little bit more information, and then you can go talk further with those folks to see how they did it. So perhaps you could, model some of that after it when you make an ask to your local administrators. So we are over time. This panel was actually really, really wonderful, full of experts. And but we did not want to take too much of your time today on your lunch break. So we don't have time for questions, but we will kind of capture those questions and try to find another way to answer them out for folks who were participating today. But otherwise, I wanted to say thank you so much for being here today, but more importantly, thank you for the work that you do in your communities. I mean, you are critical to our current communities and to our future communities. All of our youth are hopefully our futures in Montana if they stay. And so what you do for the kids in your community matter both now and in the future. Finally, if you want more information from us, we will hang on just a little bit longer and you're welcome to stay. Nora also dropped in there our newsletter. It's where we get a lot of our policy updates, a lot of our resources. resources out to people. So if you're not already signed up, it's not just for providers, it's just for anyone who is interested in the work that we're doing. But thank you again, and happy Lights On After School Day.